Hi there, this is Adrian Scott with some more Shekels for your thoughts. I read my Bible every day, but in reading so recently, I came across a particular parable of Yeshua. And I mean, I've certainly read this before, and everything that Yeshua says, is absolutely profound to me. But maybe one of the most amazing things about reading through the Bible, particularly doing it repeatedly, is each time you read through, you can discover new things that you didn't notice on your previous reading. And this is one that I guess I had kind of noticed before, but it just resonated more with me right now. And I felt compelled to sit down and do what I imagine will be a short little video, kind of discussing this a little bit, just as another word of encouragement for everyone. Anyways, where it takes us, and as a little side note, I'm reading from a particular version here called the Hallelujah Scriptures. That's one I think worth looking into. It's not the only one I read, but I like it. And in here, I am going to Matthew, or Mattatyahu, chapter 13, and it is the parable of the wheat and the tares. And so it picks up in chapter 13 at verse 24, and it says, "Another parable he put before them, saying, The rain of the heavens has become like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed darnel, or tares, amongst the wheat, and went away. And when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel also appeared. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? From where then does it have the darnel? And he said to them, A man, an enemy, did this. And the servant said to him, Do you want then that we go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the darnel, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I shall say to the reapers, First gather the darnel and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my granary. And then I'm going to jump ahead slightly here to verse 36, because this is where Yeshua goes on to explain this to his disciples. Then, having sent the crowds away, Yeshua went into the house, and his disciples, his Talmudim, came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the darnel of the field. And he answering said to them, He who is sowing the good seed, the wheat, is the son of Adam. And the field is the world. So this is making righteous people in the world, all around the world. He made disciples of the people around him. They go out and make disciples. That is the spreading of the good seed, or the righteous. The good seed, these are the sons of the rain, but the darnel are the sons of the wicked one. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the age. And the reapers are the messengers. As the darnel then is gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be at the end of this age. The son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all the stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So the initial message is pretty clear on that one. The field is the world. The wheat, or the good seed, are the righteous people, and the tares, or the darnel, are the wicked people. Where I think what you need to do is make the connection to the real world, because God is smarter than we are, and all of these lessons, all of these tutorials, these examples. I think that's the word I was trying to think of. They were placed in the world for us to see. So truly, we have no excuse when the time comes. It was all around you. It was in the Word, but it was all around you. It was in everything that He has created. And the interesting idea that occurred to me a while ago is, how does wheat and tares actually function in a literal field? So the two are almost identical as they're growing. It is difficult to tell them apart. And ultimately, the way that you are able to tell them apart is once they reach maturity, once they reach ripeness. Because the wheat is going to be full of heads of kernels of wheat at the end, and it is going to bow over on the weight of all of this stuff. The tares do not produce anything. They're a weed. They're effectively a parasite. So they continue standing up straight. So once you let the wheat come to full ripeness, it makes the removal of the tares much easier, because you just take everything that's standing up straight, cut it down, and off into the fire it goes. Then you gather up the wheat. So when we make the connection back to the parable, the idea is that you let the wicked and the righteous grow up together, and at the end of the age, the wicked will be removed. Then the righteous will be gathered forevermore unto the Father and Yeshua. So there's an interesting thing here that I learned at one point, and it really stuck with me pretty good for a while. And this is the part I wanted to share. So the tares in this field do function as they're a parasite, basically. As they produce nothing, they gather their nutrients from what the wheat is producing, and that is where they grow alongside the wheat. And this is the interesting part. So the word parasite itself is, I guess it's Latin, comes from a compound of, if I remember this right, parasitos. And the translation of that is alongside the wheat. That's a parasite, something that is alongside the wheat. It produces nothing, and it uses the health of the righteous or the health of the producing grain for its own sustenance. So when we look in the world, there are a lot of enemies that are easy to detect. They're the obvious ones. As I heard a speaker say one time, I mean, when you look at particular groups of people that in biblical terms would not be among the righteous, that's an entire field of tares. It's pretty easy to identify, nothing you have to watch out there, but the ones that can cause the most devastation, the ones that can cause the most problems, that can cause the most division, are the ones that are blended in or hidden or alongside the wheat. So it's just an idea that we need to be sober and alert and wary, especially in these crazy times that are happening right now. And the best way to do that is to keep yourself steeped in this word. Read it as often as you possibly can. From my standpoint with my wife, Chris, we are in the good word, I would say at least twice a day. Sometimes more, but at least twice a day. That can be a bit more challenging when we get into tax season, as she manages the tax office. So I've kind of like, bye honey, I'll see you in a few months. But we still get our reading in, particularly on our Sabbath. That's a day of rest. It is a day of fellowship and communion with God, and that is how we treat it. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with all of you, and I hope that it brings some encouragement to you that there's nothing happening that's outside of the will or the plan of God. We just need to be sober, alert, keep ourselves in the world. And as I've said before, and I will say many times over and over again, the safest place to be is in the will of God. So do everything you can to keep yourself in that place and stay in His Word. Old Testament and New. I can't recommend that enough either, because it's like reading any novel if you start halfway through the novel, you're not going to understand a lot of what's going on. You got to start at the beginning so that when you get to the end, you understand who all the characters are and you understand why the things are happening that are happening. The Bible functions the same way. Read it from beginning to end. Every word is God inspired for and profitable for doctrine and reproof. Every word of it. Not just this book or that passage or this verse. The whole thing. Anyways, blessings to all of you and shalom. And I hope you have a great week.